Stretching parallel to the California coastline just north of Santa Barbara, the Santa Ynez Mountains. They rise sharply from the Pacific, and these rugged peaks form one of California's most unique ecological crossroads, a true biodiversity hotspot. Today, we will explore the hidden ecology, species interactions, and future of this extraordinary region. What makes the Santa Ynez mountain range so interesting is that the mountains align themselves running from east to west. This is a standout compared to most other ranges on the California west coast, which align themselves north to south. These mountains formed around 5 million years ago when tectonic compression and the rotation of the western transverse ranges uplifted ancient seafloor sediments, sandstone, shale, and fossil rich marine layers. This uplift created steep cliffs, canyons, and a rain shadow effect, which shapes the region's ecology today.
Okay, so the weather in Santa Ynez Mountains isn't too crazy. The Santa Ynez Mountains have dry, somewhat foggy summers and cool, moist winters. The highs are around 70s until spring, and they average around 80 degrees. Then in the summer, it's uncomfortably hot, around 90 degrees, then back down to 80 degrees in the fall, and the winter is around 70 degrees. The nights are close to freezing, but it's a little better in the summer months, around 10 degrees warmer than freezing. The rain situation is interesting because it rains a few inches from late autumn to early spring. The summer gets almost no rain, and there's a big drought. The elevation isn't too crazy. The peak is around 4,295 feet above sea level, and it drops to sea level in the valleys. And the altitude or the latitude is 34.61 degrees. The soil is moderately well drained, with slow to rapid runoff and a very slow permeability. Agriculture is done through irrigation. Uncultivated areas have annual grasses, scattered live oaks, and light brush. The Santinas soil series is made of deep, moderately well drained soils that form from shale, sandstone, and granite. Santinas soils are formed on terraces and foot slopes, with slopes ranging from 0 to 50%. The mean annual precipitation is around 20 inches. The mean annual air temperature is around 59 degrees Fahrenheit. The typical soil sample is grayish brown from 0 to 26 inches. It's a fine sandy loam, then it transitions into a clay loam. Then at 41 to 61 inches, the soil is a sandy clay loam. The mean annual soil temperature is around 59 degrees to 63 degrees Fahrenheit, and the soil temperature is not below 47 degrees Fahrenheit. The soil between 5 and 15 inches is usually dry from late April or May until November or early December, and is moist in some parts of the rest of the year. Shale rock fragments make up about 1 to 35%, down to 43 inches. The soil is moderately well drained with slow to rapid runoff and very slow permeability. Though the area around Santa Ynez has a river, and it's home to birds like genus Vireo, little gray songbirds like Lys belvireo, an endangered subspecies of Bell's vireo. The bird's ideal nesting range overlaps with areas that have diverse mixtures of tree species. And this river has 5 species of willow, 2 species of cottonwood, 2 species of oak. It has white alder and California sycamore. There are 6 habitats around the river: savanna, close thickets, open woodlands edge, open woodlands interior, close forest edge, and close forest interior. The mountains of Los Padres Forest consist of chaparral woodlands and meadows, with the coastal hills beneath them having arid steep stones before reaching the rivers and creeks of the valley. Migrating and breeding birds and mammals arrive in increased numbers during the spring and summer to breed and nurse their offspring. As the summer drought reaches its late months, fauna migrate for montane shelter as food sources and water become increasingly scarce. An example of is the northern phainopepla, a small black songbird which breeds in southern California deserts in early spring and then moves into the surrounding rivers for a late summer breeding season. The water table and deep layers of loose sediment carried by running water creates high humidity, leading to the surrounding area being covered by closed canopy forests, with moisture cooling the air to upwards of 15 degrees compared to the surrounding hillsides. Additionally, coastal fog travels upstream and provides the valley with more cool, moist air. The Santa Ynez Mountains um, and the river are surrounded by Los Padres National Forest, and mercury mining in the area has been closed for decades, protecting California's rivers, mountains, forests, chaparrals, and meadows, as well as kept species like Bell's vireo, a species that has been endangered for decades, alive. Several types of mammals live in these mountains. California mule deer, a medium-sized, cute-looking deer named for its big, mule-like ears. The Colombian black-tailed deer, which is a smaller, less fluffy, and less cute deer. Black bears, European wild boars, which were introduced in 1927. The boars are an invasive species and have interbred with feral pigs along the coast. They are destructive in river and wetland habitats and are direct competitors for deer for food and shelter. There are three species of rabbits: cottontail, brush, and jackrabbits. Jackrabbits are like tall, skinny rabbits with big ears, and of course, they're squirrels too. Two types of squirrels: western gray squirrels and California ground squirrels, one of which still pursued into a tree. The Santa Ynez has lots of birds as well. Band-tailed pigeons are hunted there in large numbers. Doves, Rio Grande turkey, and waterfowl like western gulls, cormorants, and guillemots. There's quails, which are found at all elevations, both in the mountains and the valley, and in woodlands, forests. Mountain quails are, very surprisingly, found at high elevations in the mountains of Santa Ynez, while California quails are found at any elevation. Mountain quails males are larger, red and gray, and have two feathers coming out of their heads. California quails are tinier, bluish gray, and brown with the black feathers swooping down. They have bald eagles and peregrine falcons, with numbers at increasingly successful rates. There are aquatic animals too, like the arroyo southwestern toad, the red-legged frog, the south central coast steelhead, and the southwestern pond turtle and fairy shrimp. In the chaparral community of the Santa Ynez Mountains, there are stupid amounts of shrubs, grasses, herbs, and other plants and stuff. There are shrubs like the manzanita. There's um, lemmiales like monkey flowers, berry bushes, and currants, um, and grasses like buckwheat. Many of them are plants in the chaparral, which produce lots of oil, which causes them to be more flammable. But this is beneficial because certain plants can only germinate after being exposed to high temperatures. In the California oak community of the mountains here in the Santa Ynez, there are more types of oak than are immediately obvious. There are coast live oaks, valley oaks, blue oaks, canyon live oaks, and interior live oaks. Canyon live oaks grow in wet drainages and create a closed canopy. Coast live oaks, valley oaks, and interior live oaks grow in a majority of conditions, making open and closed canopies. Acorns provided a major food source for Native Americans, people of these mountains, but they are now a food source for birds, squirrels, and bears. Oak woodlands have been cleared due to urban and agricultural development, and on the way to the park when we were filming the documentary, most of the land was used for cattle horse ranches. And to make things worse, blue oak um, and valley oak trees are coming back at a declining rate. A foundational species of the oak woodlands of the Santa Ynez Mountains is, of course, the oak trees. Being in both oak woodlands and lower montane shrublands, also called the chaparral, the coast live oak plays an important role in feeding and providing shelter for the fauna of Santa Ynez. It's the second most productive oak species among the most populous oak species in the ecoregion, and it feeds more animals. It feeds animals like magpies, scrub jays, California ground squirrels, weevil larvae, moth larvae, black-tailed deer, pocket gophers, worms, and grasshoppers. Coast live oak woodlands are the preferred habitat for black-tailed deer and black bears. Coast live oak provides conditions for plants that deer, rodents, and small mammals feed on. Black bears, rodents, black-tailed deer, and small birds rely on acorns for nutrition, and the leaf litter provides hunting ground for insectivores like shrews. There's even a bird that loves the nut so much he named his son after it. This guy, he's called the acorn woodpecker, and you see his diet, it's over 50% acorns in the fall to winter months. Look at that. A study found 80% of seedlings were growing under purple sage or California sagebrush. 15% were found growing under mature live oak. Coast live oak is more susceptible to drought than other California oaks. The clearing of oaks is the biggest threat among drought, cattle, and feral pigs. These trees have decreased chance of survival without natural conditions like endemic plant coverage and sufficient moisture in the soil. A chaparral plant that can't be forgotten is California buckwheat, a keystone species that provides nectar for bees, butterflies, and hummingbirds after many flowering plants have lost their flowers, as it blooms from May to October. Additionally, Native American people in the plant's native range ate parts of the plant and used it as medicine. One tribe, called the Cahuilla, use this plant in many different ways. They treated headaches and stomach pains with a tea made from its leaves and applied a paste made from its root to heal wounds. Now back.
For thousands of years, the Chumash people, an indigenous group from the central and southern California coast, used these mountains sustainably. By burning chaparral in low intensity cycles, cultivating oaks, and managing watersheds, they kept this environment in equilibrium. European settlement brought ranching, grazing, mining, and fire suppression, which interrupted the natural fire cycle that the Chumash people had grown to live in tandem with. Today, expanding development, road construction, and recreation pressure the ecosystem. Santa Ynez also has a huge wine culture, with many vineyards spanning across the region due to the unique microclimates that these mountains create. Like any other form of agriculture, the wineries cause harm to the Santa Ynez environment by limiting its biodiversity, increasing its water use, wastewater creation, and habitat alteration. But on a more optimistic note, these wineries are offered SIP certifications. SIP certification refers to the Sustainable Practice Certified Program for Vineyards, Wineries, and Wines, which provides third party verification for sustainable practices. For wineries, this involves a comprehensive certification that covers energy and water conservation, air quality, social responsibility, and business practices, as well as vineyard practices like habit and pest management. Much of the range lies within Los Padres National Forest, and the Santa Barbara Botanic Garden studies and restores the native species. Local burn management programs and condor reintroduction efforts continue to protect the region's ecological legacy. Climate models predict hotter, drier conditions for the Santa Ynez Mountains. By 2050, the region may experience longer droughts, more intense wildfires, reduced snowpack and stream flow, habitat shifting upslope, and declines in sensitive species like the big cone Douglas fir and the riparian amphibians. But resilient shrubs, deep rooted oaks, and adapted wildlife may persist if conservation efforts continue. The future of the Santa Ynez Mountains depends on balancing human activity with ecological stability, and you, yes, you, the viewer, have a say in the fate of the Santa Ynez Mountains.